Yo, what up, Blackish fam? I hope all is well and everything is going well in the world. Man, shout out to the amazing subscribers because a lot of people have told me, have been instructing me, yo, you got to check out this video, or yo, you're going to be really surprised with this one. Yo, if you're a fan of the intellectual breakdown, I don't care who the artist is or what type of platform or media it is. If it's spoken word or poetry or just something that you think is important to reference, man, send it over. Let's check it out together. This one I'm actually pretty excited about. It's from a group called The Clipping. Never heard of them at all, but I was just doing a search because it looks like there's a copyrighted video, so I can't show the actual video. I can only show the lyrics. But when I pulled it up, it said something about civil rights and Black Panthers, and I was like, I wouldn't expect that for something called Blood of the Fang. I was thinking something, Count Chocula face. One, two slapping bitches, or whatever it might be, right? That's actually Count Chocula is the cereal, right? All my references are too messed up. But yo, without further ado, let's get right to Blood of the Fang. My religious knowledge is extremely limited. If you take me to a trivia show, I can recite some stuff from yesteryear that would surprise you. You'd be like, how the hell do you know that, right? Oh, ghetto Jeopardy face, right? But with religion, it's just something I wasn't raised with. My mom used to always say, I'm not going to tell you who I voted for, and I'm not going to tell you what I believe in, because I don't want your cup to already be full. I want you to explore that on your own. And that would be great. I appreciate how open she was. But the problem is I never explored it on my own. I never studied world religions. And even though I know a little bit about a lot of things, religion just happens to be one where I feel ignorant when I go and visit a church or try to explore my faith. Just hopefully it's not too challenging from a religious standpoint. But everything else, I think I can hold my own. Let's get right to it without further ado.
By the Christians it is written that in the black mother's days, there exists an addiction to...
Now, I've heard that before. It's funny. I don't think, now that I see the Blood of the Fang reference, is that Dracula? What is that? What is that? Bram Stoker's Dracula? But I've heard that before. I don't know where it was, but I like Black history, right? I like politics. So there's a lot of, if you would, urban legends that about slaves coming back from the dead, right? People practicing witchcraft or whatever it might be during this dark period, but slaves actually coming back to life. I wonder if this is about slaves.
Drink it up. 50 years about enough. Time to come back. They want to call the bluff.
50 years not enough. I wonder when the song is from. I don't know what would have been 50 years.
Okay then, time to come back. What up? Hail King Huey, do it for fluid. You knew it was moving forever. Do it, the truth is the movement was really too clever. Who is the newest to do it, pursuing a useless, polluted agenda? Too long to get the bullshit to...
This kind of reminds me of This Is America, right? Childish Gambino. I got a gun. I got to carry it. Yeah. And then he's over there getting down, right? I didn't know he could dance like that with his old 4'15" looking ass. But this is sick. I don't understand the references yet.
Together, 50 years not enough. Patient gave him a 2-year grace. 6-6 came, then they saw the true face. Black on black guy race. Had them all polluted agenda. Too long to get their bullshit together. 50 years not enough. Patient gave him a 2-year grace.
I feel like wilding out on some Zumba stuff right now, right? Okay, so he said patient gave him a 2-year grace. Earlier, he said 50 years ago, so that would make sense, right? 1966. 2-year grace. The 66 came, so we're talking about 1964. I would imagine he's talking about the Civil Rights Act, right? The Civil Rights Act of 1964 basically ended public segregation, right? Segregation on buses and public places, and there was it stopped places from discriminating on you based on your sex, right? Your religion, the color of your skin, basically who you are. It was instrumental to the civil rights movement, which would make sense. So 1966 is when the Black Panther Party, that was the reference, okay? In 1966, they started the Black Panther Party, and it wasn't originally called that. It was originally the Black Panther Party of Self-Defense, if I'm not mistaken, which would make sense. Let me run that back, because I think in the front they said Hail King Huey, right? They're talking about Huey Newton. Huey Newton is one of the founders. Him and Bobby Seale started the Black Panther Party. All right, that makes more sense. I'm like, King Huey, I'm thinking of like hood references, right? Like rappers named King Huey. And okay, so King Huey, do it for fluid. You knew it was moving forever. They're talking about the Black Panther Party and their movement. All right, that's I would not have caught that if I didn't know when we pulled up this video that it was loosely based on the Black Panther Party or there was a reference. I don't know that I would have understood the Hail King Louie. Hail King Huey. Oh, King Louie is probably who I was thinking about, right? From Chicago, where I am. But let's get back to it. Let's let it ride a little bit so we can understand the context.
Ever. The truth is the movement was really too clever. Who is the newest to do it? Pursuing a useless...
Woo! Listen to what he's saying, right? So they're saying 50 years later is what they were talking about. So they were talking about the civil rights movement and the Black Panther Party, which one would argue is still around loosely today. But they were pretty much disbanded, attacked by the government, right? But listen to what he's saying. He said, who is the newest to do it, right? Is it that a kind of a jab at Black Lives Matter? Or is he just saying, normally when you talk about pursuing a useless, polluted agenda, you don't really have an agenda unless you're in a position of power, right? An agenda is like an outline, if you would. So it almost sounds like he's going after the politicians, right? I don't want to call out anyone by name, but when you see those really high-profile cases, the George Floyd case, right? You see these ones where there's a shooting in Chicago, and they're trying to say, this guy was shot this many times. Were they justified, right? Was it a justified shooting? All of a sudden, you have these political rights leaders and church leaders that just appear in Chicago, and they're looking to speak on behalf of the family. And one would have to ask why, right? Well, it's because they're not relevant if they don't have a platform. So they're trying to maintain relevance, and sometimes their agenda is a bit polluted. Because what also happens is they have a few cards, right? That's like your civil rights Angie's List, because they got the high-profile lawyer, right? Jesse Jackson's going to slip you a card for somebody who's worked closely with the Rainbow Push Coalition, right? So they have an agenda, and it sucks because you don't know, like, who are our civil rights leaders of today, right? Now, who's the newest to do it, is what he's saying. I'm liking this so far.
Agenda. Too long.
It kind of reminds me of... what's the groove? It's bigger than hip hop, right? Who shot Biggie Smalls? If they don't get us, they gonna get us all, right? That was sick. But they said too long to get their bullshit together. 50 years about enough. We could be talking about the government. He could be talking about people. But you've had quite a bit of time since the Civil Rights Act of 1964. You've had a lot of time before that, right, to get your shit together. And if it's not done now, that could be why he's like, we're calling for blood now, right? We gave you an opportunity. Now we let you prove yourself. And I'm still trying to get the blood of the Fang reference, the vampire reference. But he's saying, we're out for blood now, right? Sick.
To get their bullshit together. 50 years bad enough. Nation gave him a 2-year grace. 6-6 came, then they saw the true face.
He's talking about the beginning of the Black Panther Party. It came 2 years after so-called segregation in public places ended. But it's not something you can Thanos, right? Snap your fingers and something happens. No, there's it's a mentality, right? It's a way of life. People have been treating black people this way for so long, and their parents have treated them for so long. It just kind of seems normal, right? No, I'm white, right? I get on the bus and a black person gets up, get to the back of the bus, motherfucker. I don't want to walk, right? And it's like it's normal to them, and you can be mad, but you almost can't, right? Because it's not entirely their fault. It's their fault if they don't know better and then do better. But it's just a system, right? It's like you can't get mad when you see a little ghetto kid out late, huge baggy white tee, just no shoelaces and the mics, right? But he's out here bad. He's walking to the corner store by himself, and you can get mad because he's hood and he's headed down a lifestyle that's probably not going to work out too well for him. But you can't really be mad at him because he was born into the system. It's almost like being born as a slave, right? You can't get mad at me because I'm a slave. This is all I know. And unless we re-educate and we have a stopping point, right? Some sort of abrasive stop, something that's jolting. And then there needs to be re-education because of the way of thought processes, right? How you define cool. What's your definition of success? If it's being well known on your block, getting Gucci belts, and having street cred, dude, I feel bad. You're sadly mistaken, and your life is going to be very limited in this world.
Black on black on black guy rape.
Black on black on black.
6-6 came and they saw the true face. Black on black guy.
Okay, so he's saying they saw the true face, right? This is the Black Panther Party. I immediately go to black on black crime. But I think of the Black Panther Party. What are they known for, right? Black leather coats, black leather hats, and they're on black faces. Irate means like hysterical, right? Very upset. So I don't quite get the reference. Black on black on black. If you understand or know if I'm missing something, please feel free to leave it in the comments. I'm just going to leave it at that. Maybe I'll get the context from future bars.
Had them all running straight out the gate. Skin do show you who kin, that's it though.
Ooh, skin shows you who's kin, right? Kin is another word of saying family. But that's it though, right? So it's like, yo, you're black, yo, what up, fam? We got the same struggle. We have some common threads that unite us. But that's really all it shows you, right? People, that when people say all people are created equal, no, maybe internally, maybe from don't judge me by the color of my skin, but judge me by the content of my character, right? But people are very different, and the color of your skin doesn't necessarily. It shows you who might be, black fam. But nowadays, I would argue that point because we're so diluted. Right? You don't know how many times in my life, my mom is black, right? I can trace my roots back to Senegal. And I'm sure our ancestors were raped and tortured because of the slave trade, right? West Africa, her people were from in the Cape Verde Islands and Senegal, and there was some slave trade going on. My mom and our black culture was diluted. And then my mom, of course, had myself and my sister with a Mexican man. Very Polish-looking Mexican man, but nonetheless a Mexican man that wasn't really involved in my life. So really, I just identify as black. And it's tough, right? Because when you're younger, you're too light to be black, right? Drake says it really good, where he says, "Man, it's funny. When I was young, I was too black, and now that I'm hip hop, I'm not black enough," right? It's called colorism. Right? You ever hear somebody say, "Man, stop acting light skinned," right? They're saying, you're acting like Drake, right? You're whining, right? You're like, that's how they say light skinned people avoid arguments. Bogus, bro. That's bogus. Like, yo, we are all, if we're black, we're black. If you have a percentage of black in you or you identify as black, brother, you are black, right? It doesn't matter. You know how many times people have said my nose doesn't look right? Right, I got straight hair. It's just crazy, man. We need to stop. Malcolm X says, "Who taught you to hate yourself?" Right? Who taught you to hate yourself? Who told you that black isn't beautiful? Who told you? What it was? What was that? Kendrick. He says, Man, show me something natural with ads with some stretch marks, right? Now, nobody wants to see that fake bleach blonde, pressed fake hair. Like, yo, show us something natural, right? No, let's get back to it. I went off on a tangent there.
Oh, what's inside never been too simple. Syrup, he sipped because he can't taste his own.
Ooh. Yo, syrup, right? You think about people like Lil Wayne, right? Promethazine, and they're making these concoctions called lean or syrup, right? With they're zipping the syrup, right? Now, but he said syrup, he's zipping because he can't taste his own blood. I get there's a vampire reference, right? The song is called Blood of the Fang. But is it also saying, could it be a metaphor for him being empty inside? Right? What does your blood carry? Your blood has your DNA, the history of who you are. Is it he's zipping syrup because he doesn't even know who he is or where he comes from? That he's the descendant of kings, but he's acting like he's the descendant of slaves, right? Let's run that back a few seconds to understand context.
Do show you who can dance it though. What's inside never been too simple. Syrup, he sipped because he can't taste his own. Drink it up, drink it up. You belong in every milliliter of. They try to take out every military leader, but you was born to be a martyr, and it doesn't mean anything because that body really mean.
Ooh, yo, that's a little bit religious. Let's try to break that down. So he's saying drink it up, right?
You belong in every.
And he's saying you belong in every milliliter. Right? What's a milliliter? Well, that's a way to quantify something, right? To measure something, but it's he's saying not millimeter, he's saying a milliliter. So that's specific to a liquid. So you belong in every milliliter. I believe he's still referring to blood. But when you belong in your blood, right? What is that? That's your DNA. That's your history. I think that's where he's going with that.
Milliliter of. They try to take out every military.
Yo, that's so deep on so many levels. And if you know the channel or you're a fan of the channel, we do intellectual breakdowns. I'm from the greater Chicagoland area. I was born in Chicago, born and raised inside of Chicago. And this is just very relevant to me because the United States, what are they known for, right? Being bullies around the world, outside of the textbooks, right? They find something that they want or that's not in their best interest, and they've removed military leaders. But what do? When they remove a military leader, they support someone else that has the U.S. Interest in mind or their interest in mind because they're in a position of power outside of the U.S., right? But if they didn't replace that military leader, there would be chaos, right? Well, that's kind of what happened in Chicago. We had Mayor Richard Daley, who was loved and respected, but also feared. Everybody knew that Mayor Daley had not just insane political connections from his father, but there was a mob connection, the Chicago mob. You didn't F with Daley, right? There was a boundary that even people in the hood knew. Man, Mayor Daley used to walk around. I was in the sales and marketing world for quite some time, and I would do trade shows, and I'd seen Mayor Daley just walking around downtown. You didn't F with Daley. When he left, there was a power struggle. Who's going to be the mayor of Chicago? Everybody only has known Mayor Daley, the only relevant mayor since Mayor Harold Washington. Well, what happened? They started attacking crime, and they started strategically removing, not military leaders, but gang leaders in Chicago. But they didn't have something in place to replace those leaders, right? That's not something the government would do. So what happened? You had all these gangs like the Vice Lords, GDs, Blackstones, and all these gangs fractured because there wasn't that hierarchy that they would answer to. So now instead of 4, 5, 10 gangs running Chicago or in the streets of Chicago, now you got 70 gangs and they're fragments. And a lot of times you ask somebody, man, back in the day, you had to spit your knowledge, right? If you were claiming a King brother or GD or BD or whatever that might be, you had to know not just how to shake up, but you had to recite some knowledge that was specific to your organization. Nowadays, these cats don't know nothing about nothing, right? There's no hierarchy. There's no training system. You know what would have happened back in the day if you did something stupid in your hood? You got a mouth shot when you were playing ball next time. They went behind the field house and you don't bring drama to the hood, bro. We're over here trying to get money, right? Nowadays, they'll shoot you if you just call somebody an idiot on Twitter, right? There's no hierarchy. We remove the leaders just like we would in foreign parts around the world and we didn't replace them, and now it's chaotic, just like Afghanistan, just like Iraq. People call it Chirac, but they don't understand how close it was. It's the government that was instrumental in effing up Chicago. And let's get back to it. I could go on for days with this.
Leader, but he was born to be a martyr, and it doesn't mean a thing because that body.
He said he was born to be a martyr, and it doesn't mean a thing because the body's really meat, right? This is just the flesh of man. This is temporary. This is for your state of being in this world, right? Not the afterlife, not in whatever. It's just temporary. It doesn't mean a thing. It's just your body. And again, this could play on the blood of the Fang. I'm still waiting for a good vampire reference, right? I imagine he's talking about blood.
Your history is when you might consider killing folk. This ain't the shit they taught you when you went to kindergarten. What you need to know is in the Queen Angela done told y'all.
Ooh, is he talking about Angela Davis? Is he talking about Angela Davis, the civil rights activist? I think she was involved with the Black Panther Party as well. But Queen Angela Davis was instrumental for civil rights, and is still, I believe she's still an activist now for also women's rights. That's sick. But I caught something there right after this. Oh, he said, look, when you understand, we don't know our history, right? If you truly knew who you were, you might consider killing people. You might be what's called radicalized, right? Because, what you see in the history books, that's not our history. They're teaching you about Christopher Columbus, Amerigo Vespucci, they do the Native Americans and the corn and the turkey dinner with the Pilgrims, the Mayflower. Bro, if you understood how hard it was to be a slave, think about a female slave, right? And think about our sisters, right? A black sister, regardless of her color, right? 50 Shades of Brown. She's blackish. You know how beautiful our people are? Think about a lifetime of rape, a lifetime of trauma. And imagine you were pregnant, right? And a lot of times it wasn't just, you might be married to someone. That didn't mean the slave owner couldn't have sex with you. A lot of times the slave owner would make you have sex with other slaves because they wanted to continue not just their authority, but it's labor, right? The more kids you have, the better. Imagine being a woman, a black woman who's been enslaved your entire life, raped, beaten, worked like an animal, and now you're going to give birth to a baby girl, and you know what's in store for her. She has an entire lifetime of being treated as someone's property. Do you know how much that can jack you up? Now I think about Wakanda, right? When Michael B. Jordan has that quote where he says, that he would have been one of the slaves that jumped off the ship because dying the way that he wanted was so much better than being shackled. And it's not just being shackled, but you're setting all your ancestors up to live that life as well. If you understand anything about being a slave at that point in time, he's saying if you knew your history, that's when you would actually be that's when people start killing. And he said, your history ain't the shit they taught you when you went to kindergarten. It wasn't the Thanksgiving feast and the pilgrims and the running across, people wearing hats like me, right? No. What you need to know is in your blood. It's in your DNA. That's the history you need to know. And today we don't have griots, right? That's why we have this station. We call ourselves modern day griots. You might be asking, what exactly is a griot? A griot was someone in West Africa that would pass down your history from generation to generation. They would do it orally. They would do storytelling. They might do it through music or poems. But their whole purpose was to keep the stories alive. Not just for knowledge, but so that you don't make the same mistakes. They were telling you how to live your life. We don't have that today, right? We're just dropped here, and a lot of people seem to think, you ask them about their ancestors, and they trace themselves back to being a slave in some part of the South, right? And it's like, dude, you are so much more than a slave. Do you even know who you are? Do you know about the kingdoms in Africa and how the abundance of information? Do you know about Mansa Musa? Look back at some of our previous videos. Mansa Musa was referenced by Black Thought, so I wanted to do a video on him. But he was one of the richest people ever in the world. Some estimate that he had $500 billion. And think about when this was, right? Just endless amounts of money. This is someone that, as a hobby, he used to build a mosque every Friday. That's the story. They said that when he went on Hajj, he went the pilgrimage to Mecca, right? He's a Muslim. That he would pass out gold bars, and he did that so much that he actually destabilized the cost of gold in the region. So when he traveled back, he was actually buying back gold at higher prices. And the economy was off for about 10 years after that. Imagine that. Somebody so rich that they can pass out so much wealth. But a lot of people don't talk about him and what he did. Not only did he build mosques, but he built universities, right? He built libraries. They say that these libraries were some of the best in the world at the time. They had extensive collections of books. And people would travel from all over the world to Africa to get knowledge. Imagine that, right? Look at us, just the descendants of slaves, but people from around the world are coming to us for knowledge? That doesn't make sense with the narrative that's been pushed through the U.S. curriculum, right? Think about that. So, this is a time, too, when European civilization wasn't doing too well, right? But in Africa, they were thriving. Now, imagine that, and you think about who's incentivized to keep you fractured, right? I learned this growing up, and people said, dude, you think you're a minority, right? The minority is a small little area, these people in power. They understand that they're the minority, but that's why they have to maintain control. Think about the world. Most people are yellow or brownish or blackish. They're not just, pale, twilight face, white, right? So you have these things set up that keep us separate. Man, if there was a unified black party, just black, and think about we would demand not just a seat at the table, but kind of like that Kanye, Pete Davidson dance. I did a lyric breakdown. Make sure you check it out. What does he say? He said, "I am the table," right? And think about that. How many black and brown people around the world that don't have food, that don't have good housing? How much wealth could we all share if we were in a position of power? And why they might want to destroy people like these Black Panther leaders, right? Think about Angela Davis. If you know anything about her, she's been fighting that fight. King Huey, the Black Panther Party. These people were fighting this fight 50 years ago. And people were fighting that fight way before them. Let's get back to it.
Queen Angela done told y'all, grasp at the root.
Yeah, that's her, Angela Davis. I don't know if that's a poem or a piece of work, but that's her famous quote. That's how I know her. She said, grasp at the root. That's what you can Google, Queen Angela, or just do Angela Davis, grasp at the root, and it should pull up her work. But what happens when you pull up a root? Think about a weed in your yard for those homeowners. When you remove weeds, you have to grasp at the root and pull them up. If you don't do that, they're just going to regrow, right? You're not doing anything. You're just running in a circle. So when you want to make change, you have to make change that's sustainable. To be honest, I'm not that familiar with the work. I'm just familiar with that quote. But that's what grasping at the root would mean.
Angela done told y'all, grasp at the root. What y'all talking about? Hands up, don't shoot.
George Floyd, right?
Look back. Blood on the ground. Look straight. They still shooting. Jump back.
Bro, this reminds me of Trayvon Martin. No, not Trayvon Martin. Laquan McDonald, right? This is a brother that was in Chicago. He wasn't acting appropriately. But this is a cat that was shot something like 16 times, right? Just something where we know how the cops are. The cops are the original terrorists in our neighborhood. When I was young, they would terrorize us as children. They would pick us up in the hood on the north side or west side of Chicago and try to get information or whatever out of you. And you know what they do if you didn't comply? They would drive you to some dangerous hood way the hell across the city when you didn't have any bus tokens or anything to get back. This is before cell phones, right? This is when you might have just went out of your house to play, but they're patrolling the area and they're legit terrorizing you, terrorizing kids. And people talk. I was involved with a lot of. I had more of a corporate life. I used to own a marketing company for over a decade, but after that, I was involved in what's called DEI committees, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I have these stories, and man, it's so many. There's so many people that don't understand the hatred or the fear of the police. And I'm like, man, it's so hard, even as a educated brother who's made my way out of the city of Chicago, I still have to be nervous when the police pull behind me because I don't know what to expect. They're given the benefit of the doubt in most situations, and a lot of these guys are just looking for the power, right? You get some little 5'2" guy walk up, and he sees me, a 6'1", 6'2" dude that understands his rights, right, and understands, things like the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, right, the amendment to, for due process, right, the unreasonable search and seizure, the right to free speech. They don't like that, right? And a lot of people say, why don't you just ask for a supervisor? Boy, if you'll get out of here with that, you know what they do if you ask for a supervisor? They just slap you and send you to the back of the class, the back of the room, or put you in another room, right? It's not like that. And that's what a lot of people don't understand. Yes, there's compliance and regulatory issues in place, and they've been trying to change the police department. And I got some friends that are cops. I got some friends that are state troopers. I got friends that are correctional officers. They're not all bad. But the problem is there's so many that are in it for the wrong reasons. They let that power get to their head. But I like what he's saying because I don't like it. Unfortunately, I understand it because it sounds like he's describing what happens when the police are shot at somebody like Laquan McDonald. Like, look what he's saying here.
Blood on the ground.
Blood on the ground, almost like you just got shot, right? I don't know if I'm interpreting that right, but think about the violence that he's displaying here or showing. He's saying, okay, there's blood on the ground. You look back. So either you're shot or you're running by somebody who's bleeding, but by saying look back, it's happening behind you, which could think about self-defense claims, right? You're not supposed to shoot someone with their back turned. Police aren't either. Police normally have two shots. They have a warning shot and then they have a kill shot. But when your back is turned, one would argue that there's not an imminent threat to their life, right? They don't have to do. It's not a justified killing if they're not in a position of losing their life, right? So listen to what he says.
Look straight.
Look straight.
Still shooting.
They're still shooting, right? They might be in front of you, or you might be running, right? But they're still shooting. And you think about that, you put 16 or 17 bullets into this cat, and you didn't even try to revive him. When is it justified to put 16 bullets into someone, right? Would you even do that if you saw a tiger, right? If you saw a damn tiger walking down the street coming up to you, oh predator face, right? You might not even shoot that thing 16 times, but they shot this young black man 16 times. Yo.
Jump back. Still here. Now what that tell you about that? That ain't shit. You got to drink it up. Drink it up.
Ooh, yo, that's deep. He's saying there's an addiction to blood. That could be that play on words, right? Because vampires, they need blood to survive, right? So that's why they drink blood, because they don't eat burgers and McDonald's, right? They quench their thirst with blood. But he's saying there's an addiction to blood. One would argue that in the United States that we have an addiction to, I guess, blood and drama, right? Think about World Star, right? When you see someone getting whooped, or you pull your camera out when you see somebody being harmed, or right, they're taking pictures of dead bodies. So what he's saying is there's an addiction to blood. It could also mean that there's an addiction to violence.
Drink it up. Drink it up.
Yo, this sounds like, is this the sample? No, this couldn't be that. There's a sample, and I bet you that's where I heard it before. I think the game references. blood, blood, blood. And the game song, and when you search who he sampled, what is that? So there's an old school, I bet you that's where we heard that in the beginning. I forget what he said now, but he was talking about a period in time. He talked about there being an addiction to blood. I think this is some sort of work of art. I don't know if it's a play or a poem that this might be based off. And I think it might have something to do with those slaves coming back to life and what that would mean, right? If you had zombies that were people that the police have killed, could you imagine that, right? Night of the Living Dead, but it's all people that have been killed by the police going after the police. Yeah, that would be a sick twist on a movie, right?
Drink it up, drink it up. Fist in the sky if you ready. That's a whole feel like confetti. They thought you was playing. No, really, the game was more training. They're finna be. Yeah,
yo, listen to what he said right there.
Drink it up, drink it up. Drink it up, drink it up. Fist in the sky if you ready.
Fist in the sky if you ready, right? That's the forever symbol of fight the power, right? He said, dice are all fair like confetti. And that's pretty sick. And, in the hood, we all know about some dice, right? Come on, come on. Mama needs a house. Baby needs some shoes. Let's go, right? You got a broken down cardboard box. You're throwing a little money down, right? You're over here getting the shmoney. But, yo, listen to what he's saying. Fist in the sky if you're ready. Dice are all fair like confetti. The first thing I think of is when there's a party. Think about throwing rice or so. Confetti is just that little, it's normally sparkly or whatnot, but it's decorative, right? But when you throw confetti, it doesn't discriminate. It comes down in a variety of different places, right? That's what I think of there. I'm not sure if I got that right. I don't know the connection to fist. But if you could, if you understand the reference, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Especially if it's something religious, because it'll probably go straight over my head.
Like confetti, they thought you was playing. No, really,
bro, they thought you was playing. Though the game was really was more training, right? So it's like, yo, now we're out here in these streets. Man, life is hard. Everybody got pistols. We're killing each other. Man, they thought we were out here playing. This is my interpretation as well. And they said, yo, this is really just training. White people everywhere are like, what the hell are you training for? Fuck around and find out, right? The revolution will not be televised, my bro. Let's go.
Game was more training, infinity. And much of it blues. Time to fly.
He said there's going to be blood and much of it blues. I don't know if he's talking about, yo, it's going to be a bunch of sad times, right? A lot of blues, a lot of people that are blue. But I think of the boys in blue, right? The cops. At least where I'm from in Chicago, they have blue uniforms. I don't know if it's like that around the country. But yo, there's going to be blood, and a lot of it's going to be blue.
More training, infinity. And much of it blue. Time to fly, because you know time fickle. So cold, finish, no swing out.
Time to fly, because you know time fickle. If something's fickle, it's not reliable, right? It's unsteady, which could mean time, right? Time, it's always changing, right? Time to fly, because you know time fickle. So cold, fit in the snow, swing an icicle. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to listen to everything else to get the reference. But fickle, that's it basically means it's something that can go either way. It's not stable. It's not reliable. Shout out, some of my useless knowledge. Years ago, I learned online that that's one of the best ways to actually kill somebody is with an icicle, because it's super sharp and it would kill them. But there's never any fingerprints, and it just the murder weapon will simply melt, and there's no murder weapon ever. So if you can't prove motive and you can't link somebody to the crime, it's easier to, don't quote me on that. I'm not responsible. I don't want to contribute to the delinquency of minors. But that's I've heard that.
Icicle, taking out a police or a politician issue with the same second, turn it out and not make it in it.
Time to fly, time fickle, so cool, fit.
Icicle, taking out a police or...
Okay, so he could be talking about killing somebody with an icicle, right? but it's so cold, right? Like he's so cold, like, yo, my lyrics are cold. But the icicle is cold too. He's saying I've taken out a police or a politician. Is you? Is it ain't the same as saying turning out a dime against a nickel? Stopping on a dime, turning on a dime, that means something else. Stopping on a dime is normally like a vehicle reference, right? Like my brakes are so good, my tires are so good, I can stop on a dime. Like I can immediately stop if I need to. They also say turning on a dime, which simply means that you can whip it, right? And you can whip it clean. It's not like driving some bus or anything. You can just, right, and the same. But turning out a dime against a nickel is really discussing value. Turning out, it's 10 cents versus 5, right? So I think he's talking about there's a play there on value or something being value or having more value.
My politician is you in the same as saying turn it on and against a nickel, and it ain't just money. Being it ain't honey sweet, but it's funny to think of them wanting to speak when this pain is deep and ingrained in. Drink it up, press it down, queen shit, wear the crown, king shit, wear the wounds. New.
Drink it up, dress it down, queen shit, wear the crown, king shit, wear the wounds. New blood in the wounds.
Blood in the wounds. Loose.
I mean, that could just loose, clear the tomb.
Pain is deep and ingrained in. Drink it up, press it down. Queen shit, wear the crown. King shit, wear the wounds.
I keep thinking of black people being, right, and they normally will call us kings, right? A little black boy, yo, that's my king, right? A queen, yo, that's my queen, bro. Wear the crown, wear the wounds, new blood in the wombs, right? The pregnancy or baby.
New blood in the wombs. Loose, clear the tombs. Bubble blue sweat.
Loose, clear the tombs. That's another vampire reference. The tombs are the tombstones in a graveyard. The bubble blue suede shoes, all right, player. You got some now and later gators on.
Shoes looking like a who's who, what it is. Come back, bust ahead. Run track to the red, black suit, black hair, black wings, black stare, black over the.
Oh, wait a minute.
Shit, wear the crown. King shit, wear the wounds. New blood in the wounds. Loose, clear the tombs. Bubble blue suede shoes looking like a who's who, what it is.
Yo, I think it says I'm like halfway through the video, and I think I'm understanding the reference, the vampire reference. He said it's looking like a who's who of the dead. If you're saying what's a who's who? That's it's an institution. I guess they're a business. But the who's who starts in high school. If you have a high GPA, you're doing good in your classes, you're standing out. You're the who's who, the people you need to know coming from high school going to college, right? In college, you might be known for something. You're the who's who of that specific field. Like for me, I'm 39 years old. So I look on, on LinkedIn. It's a social network for business professionals. And they say who's who, the 30 under 30 or 40 under 40, or people you should know that are making change in the world. But he's saying like who's who of the dead. That would make sense if he's representing, or he referenced King Huey, right? He was the leader of the Black Panther Party. And listen to what he just said. He said, bubble blue, what did he say? Bubble blue suede shoes, right? Dress up, wear it down.
Drink it up, dress it down. Queen shit, wear the crown. King shit, wear the wounds. New blood in the wounds. Loose, clear the tombs. Bubble blue.
Right here, bubble blue suede shoes. So is this King, yeah, so this would be King Huey coming out, right, looking like a player, and I guess he's the vampire. He wants blood, right? Which would make sense, because he said, yo, we gave you guys 50 years, right? We waited 2 years after the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Yo, I waited 2 years, and then we had to form the Black Panther Party because stuff still wasn't happening, right? Now, that 50 years have passed and I'm back, right? He said, yo, I'm loose, right? Clear the tombs. Coming out, stepping with my bubble blue suede shoes, baby.
Suede shoes looking like a who's who, what it is. Come back, bust ahead.
Come back, bust a head, right? I'm busting these heads open.
Run track to the red, black suit, black hair, black wings, black stare, black over the. Button up, bruh. Acting a fool, just acting. You knew about adapting.
Woo! Acting a fool or just acting. You knew about adapting since you started tapping. you think about that, I immediately think of like coonery or buffoonery, right? When you think about old school black entertainers, and a lot of times people wanted you to act a fool so that they can watch you, but you weren't a part of the comedy. You were the comedy, right? People would call you things like jigaboo, right? Or they had these words, and they did blackface, and they imagine people with these big old lips. But he said, you knew about adapting since you started tapping. Tapping is a lost art, really. I don't think many people are looking at tap dance anymore. Tap dancing was something that was known, right? Got your jazz hands going, right? And he's saying, like, yo, you knew about adapting since you started doing that stuff, and since you started dancing for the man, right?
Soon started tapping and in the dark flapping the full moon asking if you knew the passion that grew what I'm asking because they were never seeing the basics. Geronimo, Eric, and Rick.
Not that bad.
They're black over the button up, bruh. Acting a fool, just acting. You knew about adapting since you started tapping and in the dark flapping the.
And in the dark flapping, the full moon asking if you knew that the passion that grew when I'm asking. Oh, right, the full moon. You got werewolves out, you got vampires, like it's going down tonight.
Full moon asking if you knew the passion that grew what I'm asking because they were never seeing the basics. Geronimo, Eric, and Gregory with their faces and
Eric or Gregory?
Acting a fool, just acting. You knew about adapting since you started tapping and in the dark flapping the full moon asking if you knew the passion that grew what I'm asking because they were never seeing the basics. Geronimo, Eric, and Gregory with their.
Eric. Okay, now I'm trying to understand the reference. Is it Eric Garner, right? I'm thinking about people they would never see in the basics, surround them all. Eric Garner, was there another high-profile case like George Floyd or Eric Garner that I'm not able, but their faces? I don't know that. Because if it were somebody specific to the Black Panther Party, I'm pretty sure they either say king, queen, or brother, right? So this doesn't sound like it's somebody from the party. It sounds like it's somebody else that they're referencing. And surround them all. I wonder if these are police officers that have done dirt, right? Because they would never see in the basics. Surround them all. Yeah, it could be. I don't know that. I don't remember the names, like the names of the officers in the George Floyd case. I would almost expect, maybe not George Floyd case, but I would expect Eric or Gregory there. I just don't understand the reference. Let me know in the comments if you understand.
Faces and every record of CD even made the MP3s laced with it.
Okay, so he's saying like all music that's coming out, it's all laced with blood, right? He's also talking about our addiction to blood, our addiction to that lifestyle. Like think about how many guys you knew growing up that have a Scarface or a Al Capone picture, right? They like that lifestyle, right? A lot of people know who Rick Ross is. Not Rick Ross that stole someone's name that used to be a correctional officer, CB4 as Rick Ross. No, I'm talking about the real Rick Ross, right? That they know about people, movers and shakers. People know about these criminals, right? That's like we're addicted to blood, we're addicted to crime.
Brother Malcolm done told y'all by any means. So what y'all talking about? All on the same team.
Yo.
By any means.
Brother Malcolm, that's Malcolm X, right? He was a member of the Nation of Islam at one point. Brother Malcolm, he has that one of his most famous speeches is by any means necessary. So he's like, what y'all talking about? We all on the same team. Like, yo, we're supposed to do whatever we need to do. And if you're not part of the fight, you're part of the problem, right? Yo.
So what y'all talking about? All on the same team. Look back. Blood on the ground. Look straight. They still shooting. Jump back. Still here. Now what that tell you about death? Death ain't shit. You got
to. All right.
Everybody want to kill a movement for the moment, but They cannot kill, what cannot die. There wasn't ever really an opponent for what they figured was only theory human, and they thought they could enslave by the same acting for the truth. But your brother George is back again and never did the climate. Said it's time to gather up another meeting of the Highness. Said they couldn't get to kill him in America, can't either, man. He's been sleeping since 71. Ain't time to beat a really simple little something. He up in the Cadillac with little Bobby Hutton. Rhyme shiny with the shiny shooting up the cousins. They wouldn't for your blood. Bobby Steelers at the door, but then the group at the club and the elder.
I'll run it back to catch the bars. I just gotta hear this right now.
Every got the same drawn up nice and a faded here with pocket. Thug life, cat lane, black and beautiful as a model. What's out of up in this with a bloody catacool bottle with Hill and honesty next to a baby sitting around a with red.
Yo, I did not expect to get this much knowledge, civil rights knowledge, Black Panther knowledge, to go over something like this early in the morning. But yo, I like this, right? It might not be something that I always bump, but anything that's educational, that's putting out new information. And yo, this brother's sick. I have no clue who this cat is. But listen to that rhyme scheme, right? Listen to how knowledgeable he is, what he's putting out there in the world. Yo, we're talking about Bobby Steele. Let me run it back. Where were we?
Blood on the ground. Look straight. They still shooting. Jump back. Still here. Now what that tell you about death? Death ain't shit. You got it.
We got a little Valentine.
Everybody want to kill a movement for the moment, but they cannot kill.
Everybody wants to kill a movement at the moment, right? Think about that. I think that might be specifically highlighting the Black Lives Matter movement, right? Black Lives Matter matters. It's a movement, and now all of a sudden we have police life matters, and all life matters, and blue lives matter. And it's like, yo, can't we just say that? Why do you have to have a protest to my protest, right? I think about that. That's so ridiculous. He said they cannot kill what cannot die. One would say that the civil rights movement is never going to end until there's justice. But I like that play on words because we're also talking about vampires, right? You cannot kill a vampire; he's already dead, right? So that you're not even troubling me. I like that. I like that. It's very unusual. I don't know that I've ever heard a hip hop song referencing vampires and kind of that play. It's decent.
What cannot die? There wasn't ever really an opponent for what they figured was only theory human. And
for what they did, what did they do? They called you a slave, and at first they considered you property, right? You can own someone outright and do what you want to them. And even after we fought for rights, they still would only consider us 3/5 of a man. You might ask yourself why, right? Well, you brought all these black people over from all over the country, and now they're slaves. If something happens and they're allowed to vote, well, it changes everything, right? Because the numbers are now tipped and they're not in your favor. So what they did was they said a black man was only 3/5 of a human, right? He was only 3/5 man, and that's how they were able to limit, your basically your power, right? They're still doing that today. Think about gerrymandering and redlining, right? Why do they do that? Well, they're worried that there's too many people that think alike in any given area, and if they unify, what that might mean to the powers that be. Think about that. It's so important to vote. If it wasn't, they wouldn't be doing all these things to try to prevent you from doing it.
And they thought they could enslave by the same acting for the truth. But your brother George is back again and never did the climate. Said it's time to get.
Oh, he's referencing Brother George right there. That's so cool. Brother George, this cat was just on another level, right? This was a guy who, I guess I associated him with the Black Panthers, but I didn't know that he was a member. I guess if they're saying Brother George, I would imagine that he was actually a member of the party. But this cat's got a story, man. This dude's real name is, I believe it's George Lester Jackson, if I'm not mistaken. And this cat, back in the day, he robbed, I don't know what it was, a convenience store, a gas station. He got something like 60 or 70 bucks, right? This man's been in prison. But while he was in prison, he started this black, I don't want to say militia, but it's normally referred to as a gang. And he started getting power, right? This is somebody who was also a member of the Black Panthers, I guess. Not just a criminal, but he did have that criminal lifestyle, right? But eventually he ended up dying in prison. If I'm not mistaken, there was an escape attempt, and this dude had like hostages. They found a bunch of bodies in his cell, and I believe they shot and killed him. But he was that's what they're saying, right? It's time to gather up another meeting of the Highness. That they couldn't kill him, and America can't either, because you can argue, right? There's all these old leaders of yesteryear, and they've all been murdered or assassinated in some unusual fashion, right? Some would argue, just like with Malcolm X, just like with Martin Luther King Jr., that this is something that the government was involved in, right? And you don't have to trust me. Let's Google the CIA involvement in the assassination of Malcolm X, right? And you think about that, and it's like, why is it that people like Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, right, these thought leaders, Tupac Shakur, right? Think about it. Why is it that people want to silence them? What is it that they're saying? Well, they're trying to unify, right? And again, I reference this. How powerful would it be if you have something like black nationalism, right? Or you have a party, whether that be called Black Lives Matter, Blackish University, Black Panther movement, whatever it might be. If there was a united front, regardless of your political stance or whatever, we're just saying, as black, brown, and yellow people, we demand this, and we are all, just think about how powerful that is. They don't want that. Let's run it back.
Gather up another meeting of the Highness, and they put into the kill him in America. Can either man, he can sleep into 71 anytime to beat a really simple little something.
Anytime they beat, man. Okay, now I'm getting it. What he's doing is he's referencing different leaders, right? I kind of thought, from the beginning, it was only the leader of the Black Panther Party, or that it might even be slaves that are coming back. But listen to what he's saying, right? Their whole gang of vampires are these. They sound like they're all members of the Black Panther Party, or at the very least, they're civil rights activists from the time. That's sick. We run it back and we can catch everything that he's saying here. It's so much.
All on the same team. Look back. Blood on the ground. Look straight. They still shooting. Jump back. Still here. Now what that tell you about death? Death ain't shit. You got to. Everybody want to kill a movement for the moment, but they cannot kill what cannot die. There wasn't ever really an opponent for what they figured was only theory human, and they thought they couldn't slay by the same acting for the truth. Your brother George is back again and never to the finest. Said it's time to gather up another meeting of the Highness, and they put into the kill him in America. Can either man, he can sleep into 71 anytime to beat a really simple little something. He up in the Cadillac with little Bobby Hutton, chatty with the shiny swooping up the cousins.
Bobby Hutton, right? Bobby Hutton met the founders of the Black Panther Party. The story is that he met them at it was like a youth home or this poverty center. It was some sort of a clinic or center where they were fighting against poverty. I imagine there was some talk about civil rights. But this was a young cat. He said little Bobby Hutton rock shoddy with the shoddy, right? He's got the shotgun, but he's riding shoddy, right? Riding shotgun is sitting in the front passenger seat, swooping up the cousins, right? I'm picking everybody up. We about to go do some dirt. But this cat actually died bogusly. If I'm not mistaken, he was the first member. I think he was the first recruited Black Panther member. And if I'm not mistaken, he became the treasurer. But he also died just not too long after Martin Luther King Jr. And he became very well known. He became like a martyr, right? He represented what the Black Panthers wanted, and he died fighting, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was he died in that. What was that? Brother Eldridge, right? If you know anything or you watched some of you know anything about their history, I believe what happened was there was some sort of, the Black Panthers, they were sitting there with guns, right, protecting themselves. So originally this was a self-defense party, and I believe that they were trying to have some sort of regulation, or they were trying to basically disarm this group. And if I'm not mistaken, he kind of did like a storm the Capitol kind of deal, fighting it. And he was in a shootout with the police. I don't quote me on how he died, but I'm pretty sure he died in that exchange. This was a young brother.
Bobby Steele is at the door, but the group at the club, brother L.
Bobby Steele. Oh,
Just keep it so.
brother Eldred. That's actually I would be willing to bet. Yeah, because brother Eldridge, he also has it's like a memoir, right, or a manifesto, if you would, and I believe it's called Souls on Ice. Now, but they're saying brother Eldridge kept the souls on ice till the time was just right. Now suffices, right? Now will do. They said whoop 'em, but your buddy Bobby Steele is at the door, right? Bobby Steele. This is a you got to understand your history to understand their references. It's just so important to know your history, right? Because you only know about the civil rights movement. People tell you about Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King Jr. and Black History Month, and there's so many more freedom fighters, right? There's so many more people that paid the ultimate price while trying to fight for this. So Bobby Steele, again, he was a leader, right? He was one of the leaders of the party. Brother Eldridge, who ended up writing that piece, Souls on Ice, man, this was a dude that was, yes, an intellectual, but he ended up being a part of that whole shooting where they like mob rushed cops, and this man was wanted, and he like fled to Cuba. This dude was living in Cuba, but man, your life can be taken at any moment in Cuba, and especially the CIA supposedly had infiltrated the Black Panther Party, right? So this dude dips and he goes to Algeria, tells his wife to meet him there. This man traveled all around the world. I even believe he ran for president at one point, did jail time. Talk about an exciting life. But this guy, I don't really understand all the ins and outs of this, but if I'm not mistaken, this cat also in later times, he ended up being banned from the Black Panther Party. I don't remember. I think this dude's like a Republican right now. He's but he changed his life. Definitely an interesting story. But it's worth researching this guy, Brother Eldridge.
I said they put him to kill him in America. Can't either, man. He been sleeping since 71. Anytime to beat him, really slip a little something. He up in the Cadillac with little Bobby Hutton. Rock shotty with the shotty, swooping up the cousins. They swooping for your buddy. Bobby Steele is at the door, but they group at the club. And brother L, just keeping souls on ice till the time was just right now. Sup nice, his memory got the same drawn up nice. And a beanie hit with pocket. Thug life, Kathleen, black and beautiful as a model.
I always worry that music like this is going to go over someone's head. The only reason I happen to know a lot about the Black Panther Party, and you can go back, and I have some videos exploring Black nationalism, exploring Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr., right, going over, we reacted to Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech, but we've also reacted to some of Malcolm X's speeches as well, just to compare and contrast. But, some of these people, I don't know that, you have to be kind of on that researching these cats to keep this alive, which is great. I'm glad we're doing it. Thank you so much for recommending that we go over this on this channel. I just simply wasn't aware there was a song like this out there. But listen to what he's saying. He said, Anne Marie got the scene drawn up nice. And if you know anything or have researched the Black Panther Party, there's a lot of information that comes from an Anne Marie. If I'm not mistaken, again, don't quote me, I believe she was just a graduate student, and she traveled the world, and if I'm not mistaken, her focus wasn't on the Oakland or these different branches, but I think she looked more at the Black Panther Party worldwide, because these guys that were fleeing, that went to Cuba, that went to Algeria, they were in communication with other nations, right? They were setting up branches. So there was a lot going on behind the scenes. If I'm not mistaken, Anne Marie is the one that was really describing that. If I'm not mistaken, she did like a dissertation or like a thesis on that. And a lot of people have seen her work. He said, yeah, that scene is drawn up nice, right, from Anne Marie. And Afeni is here with vodka. Anne Marie is not her entire name, but I'm sure if you Google Anne Marie, Black Panther Party, you would understand her and find some of her work. I can't remember her last name for the life of me. Now, Afeni, most people know her as Afeni Shakur, right? This is Tupac's mom. And she was an activist, right? She was a civil rights activist. and involved with the Black Panther Party. He said, yo, she's here, right? So we got all these people here that were activists. Feni Shakur, she's here with Vodka. Yo, Thug Life, right? Shout out to Tupac, who had Thug Life tatted on his chest or above his abdomen. Kathleen, that's how I know they were talking about Brother Eldridge for sure. Brother Eldridge, if I'm not mistaken, his real name is Eldridge Cleaver, and I think this is his wife, Kathleen. Kathleen Cleaver. If I'm not mistaken, she was involved. I don't know. She was like a secretary or a mail lady. They all had roles within the organization. But she, I believe now, she's like well educated, and if I'm not mistaken, she's like a professor or a teacher of some sort. He said, yo, Black and Beautiful, right? It's the model that we want to live our life. When I watch Toby Nwigwe or Common, or you look for this Black is beautiful, right? Black excellence, Black love. We need to start making it more normal, seeing Black people doing regular, everyday, beautiful things, and not just as baby mamas, baby daddies, thugs, singers, bust downs, right? It's just, it's hurting our culture and our people, right? The way they think about themselves. And he said, Asada is a model, Asada, right? That's Asada. I keep thinking of Sarak. We've been checking out a lot of her work. And I remember this is Asada Shakur, who is, I believe, Tupac's godmother, was also involved with the party. But, shout out to Asada, the artist. I don't know her last name, but her hip-hop name is Sarak. And we've been going over a lot of her work. Man, this sister knows her history, right? I would like to see her do a breakdown of that. She'd be like, oh, I know her. We went to woo, right? Up here, zipping a bloody chemical bottle.
The same drunk up.
Could be that ether, right?
9 centimeter here with pocket. Thug life. Kathleen, Black and Beautiful is the model. Without a cup and you're sipping the bloody chemical bottle. With Hill and honesty next to a baby sitting around a wheel.
I'm just sitting next to a baby sitting in the bottle. I need to hear her to say something and for them to follow. Ooh. Until the nightlight is swallowed. The eyes of the sparrow tomorrow. Those are just, you hear until the nightlight is swallowed, right? Eyes on the sparrow tomorrow. Those are just not cliches. I forget the actual term for those, but I don't think it's really saying much. With Hilla honestly next to a baby sitting in vibrato. Now, I don't understand the reference, but who is that artist waiting for Hera? I believe, and I want to say Jill Scott, but I don't think that's her name. Now I just happen to be thinking of Jean Scott. We referenced it earlier. The revolution will not be televised. I believe that's her work. I believe it's a chick by the name, I want to say Jill Scott, maybe Jill Scott Hera. It was like a 3-part name, waiting for Hera to say something and for them to follow. Yeah, so they had, it was really powerful music, right? You think of the revolution will not be televised and what that means. And if I'm not mistaken, that's her work. I don't know the Hilla reference. If you know it below, feel free to leave it in the comments. Well, honestly, next to a baby, sit in vibrato. Yeah, it just doesn't mean anything to me. I don't understand it. Ooh, you know the marrow is hollow, right? The bone marrow. That's a sociology term, right? A model of effervescence. That basically means that you're collectively working towards something. It's the group is collectively. It could be a movement, I guess, if you would. After the rest of the model of effervescence went all up and manifest, there a lot of these are manifestos, but went up and manifested. They never bothered to question. Why would they invest in murder? Guess they never knew it was a test. The best assessed the way it moved. That's saying a lot there. That can be interpreted a variety of different ways, but I like to play on words with the song name, right? Blood of the Fang. We're seeing these civil rights leaders, these prominent Black Panthers coming as vampires, right? They said blue suede shoes, dressed head to toe, right? They're well dressed, holding down their own. Who are they going after? Who are they killing, right? One night is there and the collars. Invested went all up in men. Bothered. Why would they invest in murder? Guess they never knew it was a test. Best assess the way to move.
Guess they never bothered to question my column, believe the rest of murder. Guess they never knew it was a test. The best assess the way to move in and digest the flesh of every wicked human to the best and blackest blood is back to rolling wrist up.
Yo. And then digest the flesh, right, of every wicked human. So it sounds like these civil rights leaders, they're not just attacking anyone, right? They're going to digest the flesh of every wicked human, right? This is kind of like the rapture, right? All the good people are saved, but the bad people, the wicked humans, he said, "Yo, we're going to eat you. We're going to digest the flesh till the best and black is blood is back to rule it. Till the best and black is blood is back to rule it." Yo, that's saying a lot. Like, until black is ruling the world. That's weird. Prince Stokely, if you know anything about Prince Stokely, you normally find it in like quotables, right? If you're looking for a good quote or you're writing a paper, you need to reference something. Prince Stokely has that one, have no fear but fear itself, right? Or fear no man, or some variation of that. And he's referencing that, have no fear.
Stokely done told y'all, have no fear. So how come every time they be like, yeah, y'all look scared?
When they go, yeah. Yo, I think of that Kendrick Lamar song. Grandma, all I need is ass with some stretch mark. All I need is show me something natural, like, right? But yeah, he's referencing the sound of a gun. He said, yo, if you're supposed to have no fear.
So how come every time they be like, yeah,
why y'all look scared?
Y'all look scared.
It's like, don't be scared, right? You need to fight a good fight. Look at all these people that I'm referencing that paid the ultimate price and gave their life. And y'all over here scared of just the sound of gunfight.
Look back. Blood on the ground. Look straight. They still shooting. Jump back. Still here. Now what that tell you about death? Death ain't shit. You got to drink it up.
Yo, this is different. I like this.
Drink it up. Drink it up.
Yo, that was just sick. You know how dense it was and how complex the lyrics were. This is something where it's like a 4-minute video, and it's taken an hour and 11 minutes to just break down the bars. That's how complex. I love that because it says that there's so much. I think of that. You ever see those as seen? I'm sorry, my voice is a little off. Everybody's sick. Everybody and their mama here. But no fear. I got that chest rub. It ain't mixed, but it'll do. Everybody is. You think of that magic sham, right? Think about something that you use to dry a car. It might appear like it's not wet, but you squeeze it out and you get a whole bowl of water. And I look at that as like, yo, he just sent us something to download, like a zip file, right? And now when we download and interpret that, it expands and now it's part of our knowledge. Bro, that is just sick with it. If you're a fan of the intellectual breakdowns, and understanding more about Black history, civil rights, activism, leaders that you might not have heard about in history class, man, don't forget to like the video, but also subscribe to the channel. This is something that we do, right? We break down artists, we break down albums, we break down lyrics, to try to give you the true meaning, and then control the narrative, right? So this maintains relevant, and this can be passed down to the next generation, so we can show them as examples of artistry and imagery that they might not be familiar with if they continue to be censored. Stick with it.